Welcome in to That Wrestling Show. Mike Wendt, of course you know me from Wicked Bites every Saturday morning, 9:30 right here on NESN. Liam?
I'm Liam Stryker of the New Age Insiders, and I'm so happy to be here. This is our second Facebook Live.
Yeah, we are live right now.
We're live.
Anything can happen, pal.
Oh, yeah. Lex Luger's coming in the blousiest blouse.
In the blousiest of blouses with the mock neck.
The mock, yeah. So be ready for that. We did get a fun upgrade. We were at a restaurant the last time.
Yes.
And now we're here inside the NESN studios.
In the studios.
Yeah, so they let us in the building.
Again.
Yeah.
It seems like, and now we're in the busy season for WWE.
Yes.
The pay-per-views are just rolling out, is what, every other week now.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just here. We were just here talking, what was the last one?
Backlash.
Backlash. Can't even call it Backlash.
Oh, whoops.
But now we're at Extreme Rules.
Yes, the Raw brand Extreme Rules.
Yes, and we're both wearing blue.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to support SmackDown because they're not represented.
Yes, I feel exactly the same way, and I'm sure we're going to get into it because, again, I sound like a broken record on this show. Yeah. Every time we come here, every time we talk about it, I'm like, SmackDown does a great job of telling stories. Raw doesn't.
Right.
There is, again, and they have the longer show.
Right.
They got the 3 hours to build towards a pay-per-view, and I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at this lineup, and I'm like, I mean, aside from Aries and Neville, which I don't really know much of the story, but they've told enough in the ring that I get it.
Right.
But we'll get to all the matches in the breakdown. I just, again, for a quick aside on SmackDown, I belly laughed this week, and I haven't belly laughed at wrestling in a long time. Thank you, Breezango.
I love Breezango.
Thank you, Breezango.
They're fantastic. The fact that he is so deep undercover that he keeps doing...
it's fantastic.
He's doing different costume changes in the middle of the match. That's the type of wrestling silly that I love.
It really is.
It's a shame that they are a face team because it feels like they're going to... They've been leapfrogged by the New Day, and rightfully so. They should be. The New Day is the most popular thing that WWE kind of offers right now, aside from maybe Braun Strowman.
Right.
But I love Breezango. They're so funny. They are so talented, and I can't wait to see more of what.
Like I said, I couldn't remember the last time.
Yeah.
I belly laughed at WWE programming.
I thought you were going to talk about what you pointed me to, which was the Indian commentary for Jinder Mahal's win.
Did you finally listen to it?
I listened to it.
Okay.
And
for those of you that don't know, during Backlash, was it Backlash?
It was Backlash.
God, they're just coming, great balls of fire.
Goodness gracious.
During Backlash, of course, we all know Jinder Mahal is a new WWE champion. There is different audio. So you can listen all the times when they're doing pay-per-views, and they're like, oh, here's the Spanish announced team, here's the Japanese announced team, here's the Russian announced team, here's the Hindi announced team.
Correct.
The Hindi language commentary track is available on the network. So go to WWE Network, go to the end of the match. That's all you need. Just like the last 5 minutes. Basically, when Randy kills the Singh brothers, go to that part, because that's awesome, first of all. But the Hindi language commentators are exactly why Jinder Mahal is champion.
Yep.
They went bonkers. I mean, I've never heard such a one-sided homer call in my life. And I listen to Jack Edwards on the Bruins here on NESN. And I love Jack. But it was wild. They're chanting, India, #1. Go watch it. Please go watch it. You will thank me later. Go watch it and then tweet me and thank me later.
Yeah.
But what did you think of it? Because I was telling you for weeks and weeks, you got to watch it. You got to watch it.
Right.
And you're procrastinating. I'm like, we got to talk about it on the show.
It was super funny. I thought it was hilarious. And it's the way that they've been presenting Jinder Mahal, right? Because they haven't been presenting him as a true bad guy. They haven't been presenting him as a true heel because the real, unsexy reasons why Jinder Mahal's champion is the WWE is expanding into India.
Because it's big business.
It's a huge market for them. And that reaction is very indicative of what the type of reaction they wanted. They wanted the Indian community to really gravitate towards Jinder Mahal and be so pro Jinder Mahal that they didn't want to paint him in such a bad light. And that's why I
mean, the celebration was very babyface.
Right.
Even though once he got on the microphone, if you're watching on USA Network, you get it. It's blending that line.
Right.
It's good for them, but it's also good for us because we get the bad guy.
They're trying to toe that line like a sports team,
Sure.
Where it's like
I said, they were very homers.
As a Patriots fan, I understand that most of the time we are painted as villains, right? The fan base and the team are all painted as villains.
Yeah.
And so I understand that, but I still root for that team. And so it's very much the same, I think, with Jinder Mahal and the type of presentation they're going with him.
Sure.
Where it's like, yeah, for everybody else, he's the bad guy, but he's our guy.
Right.
So that's, I get it. And, I just wish that
basically he's the home team for them.
He's the home team for them. So
he's the visiting team for us. He's the home team for them.
And so that's why they're supporting it.
That's fine.
And that's why he hasn't done anything like crazy bad. He hasn't like burned an American flag yet.
Jeez, let's yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he hasn't done that yet. It might come. He might attack a soldier.
I don't think so, though.
I hope not.
I don't think so. I think the worst he's going to do is beat up Mojo next year or next week.
Mojo. WWE champion, SummerSlam.
I'm with you.
I'm saying it, man.
I'm with you. I know your co-hosts on New Age Insiders do not agree with either one of us on that topic, but I cannot wait
the funniest thing was we talked about it on the New Age Insiders a couple weeks ago, and they were adamant. Both of them were adamant that it's not going to happen.
Right.
And then I laid out everybody on SmackDown and what everybody else is doing. And I'm like, he's the only one left.
He's the only one left.
He's the only one left.
And they need something for Money in the Bank. I'm not 100% sure what they're going to do with Rusev yet, but we'll get to Money in the Bank at the very end of the show. Because we got Extreme Rules. It's the Raw brand. It's the red brand. I'm on the red side apparently today. So we got to do Extreme Rules. It's tonight.
It is tonight.
It's tonight. We got a few hours.
Right. This is my biggest issue with the way WWE is currently set up.
Okay.
Is pay-per-views like this. And this is the one I point to the most. We have a pay-per-view built solely around Extreme Rules stipulations.
Sure.
So everything on this everything on this show has some sort of stipulation that makes it not a normal match.
The box of gimmicks is empty this month.
And everything kind of feels forced.
Sure.
I loved that back in the day, the 90s into the mid-2000s, before Extreme Rules became a thing, we used to build to these things naturally. So it would be like, these guys hate each other so much.
Hashtag the Attitude Era was better.
Right. But it's like, we used to get to a point where a cage was needed, or a bull rope match was needed, or a no disqualifications match was needed.
Well, the big violent gimmick matches were the blow off. It was like they've been going back and forth and building a story, but they only got 2 weeks to build a story now. You don't have that much time to piss somebody off.
But they keep these away. They keep all of these gimmicks away until Extreme Rules, and like we won't see a kendo stick on a pole match, at any other point just for this, and I don't like it because it pigeonholes storytelling, and that's my 2 cents about Extreme Rules. But that being said, I'm very excited for tonight.
I mean, again, like I said at the top of the show, Raw has not done a great job of building me as far as a build-up and a story. However, that being said, the last few pay-per-views they've done have always delivered.
Right.
And I anticipate this delivering as far as match quality, in-ring psychology. They do a great job at that. It's just the build-up. It's like... I don't care going in, but I'm going to watch it because
the build-up
it is
always terrible. But they're all guys I want to see. The fatal 5-way Extreme Rules bonanza they're all guys that I want to watch wrestle in that match. So that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited to potentially see the Demon Finn Balor.
It's going to be a fun show.
It's going to be a fun show.
It's just been a weird way to get to that show. But let's get to the show.
Let's do it.
WWE Extreme Rules. Of course, it's tonight. Since we are live right now, it's tonight. So set your, I'm going to tell you to set your watch.
WWE Network.
WWE Network. There you go. Thank you very much for helping me out on that one. First match out of the box. I'm going to call this one, the stipulation is, wow, the mediocre have fallen.
I know.
Sasha Banks and Rich Swann, who is the left-out New Day member, versus Alicia Fox and Noam Dar?
Noam Dar.
I don't watch 205 Live. Sorry, man. I don't. Yeah. Did you see? Okay, while we get into it, did you see the report? And this is very... Like, this to me, if I was in programming at WWE Network, I would be canceling 205 Live right now.
Okay.
It was either last week or the week before, a report came out of all the different, what the popular shows were.
Right.
205 Live lost that week to 1998's Halloween Havoc, a WCW B pay-per-view from 1998 beat a new live show
Fun fact about that.
Tap out, man.
Fun fact about that Halloween Havoc.
Yes.
If you watch it, Raven and Chris Jericho are both on those shows.
Okay.
They replaced their music with their WWE themes.
Jericho, used a lot of. They used the Break the Walls Down on all of the WCW stuff. It's very weird.
Some poor intern had to sit there and replace all of that audio.
Well, I mean, and I don't want to get too deep into the rabbit hole, but that was why for a while the ECW pay-per-views didn't have New Jack matches.
Right.
Because they had to go find a song to replace Natural Born Killers by Dre and Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Because they played through his whole match. But they eventually did find one. It's some bootleg version of it.
Right.
And now we get New Jack matches because we all want New Jack.
We all want New Jack matches.
We can't have enough New Jack matches.
Yeah, he might kill a guy.
The man is an animal. Okay, but
this
Sasha Banks and the Lost New Day member.
It feels like Sasha made somebody mad backstage because this is going to be on the pre-show, I would assume.
That's what I thought. What I was looking at didn't specify whether it was or not, but I got to imagine that.
This is the pre-show match. She's in an intergender tag match where, there's no real story.
There's no reason.
There's no reason. Why do you hate Alicia Fox? Do you hate Noam Dar? I would rather watch Sasha Banks wrestle Noam Dar than this tag match.
I agree.
And that's an Extreme Rule. Why don't we do
there
that?
You go. Wow, 2017, man. That's why we can't do that.
Fair enough.
Can't do those type of matches anymore. But now I felt the same way about Sasha Banks. It was like all of a sudden I see her coming out. I'm like, oh, because she came in with the women's revolution with Charlotte and Becky and that whole thing, and she was great. But she was also a heel then.
Right.
I blame the fans. I blame you for this. That's who I'm blaming because they all got there. Well, we like Sasha. We're going to cheer for Sasha. Well, what happens every time that you cheer for somebody? They become a babyface. It's happened with every. That's why New Day is babyface. Let's be honest. They started as heels. Yep. I mean, granted,
they also started as gospel singers, but that's
true. But 6 one way, half dozen another. But it's going. That's what happened. She was so over with the fans, selling so much of the merch, and heels can't sell merch. That's against the rules.
Right.
That they turned her babyface, and she has been floundering ever since.
Yeah.
She has just been kind of waiting around, and nothing's happening, faking injuries left and right, and nothing. You thought she was going to do something with Bayley, but then they never turned her.
Yeah, and they never turned her, and Alexa Bliss came in and just took that.
I mean, we'll get to her. She is fantastic.
Yeah, she came in and she took that women's division. Right. Everybody has been saying
she's like
Sasha
mini
Banks,
Charlotte.
Right, but she was like, Sasha Banks and Charlotte, they're going to fight forever. They're going to be the rivalry. And I said this when the brand split happened, or when the shakeup happened.
Yeah.
It's Alexa Bliss and Charlotte. That's
what they're keeping apart.
They are going to be on an inevitable collision course.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's going to be awesome.
And I hope they take their time with it, too. But, I mean, I'd say who do you want to win, but...
I would like Sasha Banks to get the pinfall victory just because I would love to see her get some momentum.
I mean, if she's really made somebody angry, I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
If she's made somebody angry, you're going to know because she's going to take the pin.
Oh, yeah. Clean.
Yep.
Clean. Let's get to the real matches. Tag team titles in a steel cage. Hardy Boys and Sheamus and Cesaro. Have we found a fun name for them yet?
Cesaro?
Cesaro, I like it. Let's do it. So Hardy Boys versus Cesaro. And again, I don't know all the legal ballyhoo about the broken character yet. I know that they've started changing graphics to a different, he's not doing the big toothy grin type of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with it, to be honest, because as we've discussed before, and we discussed, I think, right after WrestleMania, I'm fine with them slow building.
Right.
Slow building a broken thing. I don't want them to jump right into it. And I'm good with this. They got plenty of T-shirts to sell as this version of Team Extreme oldish.
Yeah, the reforming of Team Extreme.
The rebirth.
The rebirth. But having them come back as broken, you have to assume that most of the WWE audience doesn't watch TNA. And that's very apparent because nobody watches TNA. No. Let's be honest.
Sorry.
And
truth.
You just heard about it. You just saw pictures. You saw YouTube clips. But it
wasn't even that. It was like Matt Hardy's doing something weird.
Right. And you don't know the reason why. And you can't carry over the story reasons why he's broken. The reason why he was broken was he blamed Jeff. He blamed Jeff for not being able to capture the heavyweight title, and then he got hit on the head. So there was all of these, and I know it sounds silly, right?
But that's the thing.
But it's wrestling.
But it was silly.
It's silly.
And I hope when they do find, because eventually I'm sure they will, because again, there's money to be made with it.
Yeah.
I want them to go super silly.
Right.
I want them, because WWE has a bigger production budget, go even sillier. I want a fleet of drones.
The best thing I heard, and you can look at it, you got to go on YouTube, go to What Culture Wrestling, because they
Love
talked
those guys,
about,
by the way.
they're great, and they talked about this and how to introduce the broken gimmick.
Okay.
And Adam Blampier suggested that Matt Hardy grinds up Jeff's broken out tooth and then drinks a liquid with that tooth in it so that he then possesses both powers of the Hardys. That type of wrestle silly nonsense. And
Book it.
Yeah.
Book it.
And that's what I would love, is I would love for them to be crazy, silly, over the top.
More cartoonish, the better in a situation like that.
But as far as this tag team title match goes,
Yeah, because we're not quite there yet. We're still here.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a ton of fun. I love the Hardys when they are in these Extreme Rules environments, whether it is a steel cage or a ladder match or TLC. So I'm looking.
Flips.
Yeah, hashtag flips.
Dive.
But I think it's going to be awesome. I think that this is going to be a really, really awesome
They seem to be
match.
gelling very well as Sheamus and Cesaro.
Yeah,
the four of them seem to be working very well.
And the heel Sheamus and
Cesaro?
Cesaro, is that what we call them?
Sure.
Yeah. The heel Cesaro team works. It works.
Really is so much better.
It is so much better than the half and half.
The evolution of this team has been so, the point we've gotten to now, I'm happy with. It was weird when they were doing the kilts and the tuxes, and they looked like Brad Pitt's group from Fight Club when they were catering.
Well, it felt like everything to do with this tag team. They
half
were
in, half out.
They were both of them were putting influence in the gimmick, but didn't have a dominant say, and they weren't coming together on it. And so now it feels like they're a team.
Yeah, and I dig that. Like I said, I dig they ditched the tuxes, the fatigue jackets, whatever you want to call them.
The airman jackets?
Yeah, they look better. They feel better. It feels more natural with what they're putting out there.
The aviators look cool.
It just, they're doing a great, and they seem to work well together.
Right.
They're just two big bruisers who probably bang out weights in the gym together. They've been doing this for a while. It's like, all right, put them together. And again, the Hardys don't mind taking a hit or two. So if you put those two combinations together.
If we have the opportunity for Jeff to jump off of something high, I mean, sign me up.
Yeah, exactly.
Sign me up.
Get 20 feet in the air and throw Jeff off. That's what we do.
That's what we do.
This is WWE,
That's
pal.
how we do it.
All right, Intercontinental title. Dean Ambrose, the champion that everyone keeps forgetting, versus The Miz.
In a match where if Dean gets disqualified, he loses the title. I think that that's going to be important because earlier when the stipulation was announced, The Miz came in and then attacked the Drifter. And that got Dean Ambrose disqualified and he lost the match. I think that was foreshadowing. I think the Drifter repays the favor tonight in this match.
What are they calling him now?
It's
a name.
Elias Sampson.
There you go, Elias Sampson. I like the Drifter better, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I don't like him doing the sing-along. This ain't sing-along with The Rock.
Oh, God.
I liked it better when he was just roaming in the back. It was different. It was unique. And now it's like, okay, let's just put him in the ring and make him sing songs.
Yeah, and then he wrestles.
Yeah, he's no longer a drifter. He's just...
Well, that was that was the thing that I always thought about in
just
NXT.
a singer.
I was like, so in theory, this guy's a drifter, and he drifts all over the country. But every Wednesday, he's at Full Sail University in Florida here for NXT.
Well, he's kind of playing a homeless-esque character. At least he was before they put him in a spotlight.
Yeah, he's playing like a busker.
Kind of. So it's like, I mean, if you got a corner that was, flourishing a lot of fruit, if you will.
Right.
If you were getting a lot of coin in your bucket at that corner, you're going to keep showing up. That was Full Sail.
Right. So, I think it's going to be good, but
that's at that point. But
I think that Elias Sampson's going to be a big part of this match.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. Do you think he's going to forward the situation with Dean Ambrose or forward it with The Miz?
I think he's going to forward it with Dean Ambrose because I think ultimately
Miz gets
the Intercontinental title. He goes and does something else, and then we have Dean Ambrose be mad at Elias Sampson, and then that builds Elias Sampson's first real pay-per-view feud with somebody that somebody that's established, somebody who's a veteran, and then on the way to Great Balls of Fire because that's happening.
Great Balls of Fire, awful.
Yeah.
And I wasn't being I wasn't being crappy about it. I literally keep forgetting that Dean Ambrose is the Intercontinental.
Oh no,
champion.
I know.
Every week I'm literally putting the sheet together, and I'm like, really? Oh yeah, I guess he is the. That makes it works so much better on The Miz.
He's the only male singles champion on Raw.
Well, Come on now.
Yeah.
Brock has the belt.
Yeah, but he's not on Raw.
Well, good point. Wait, no, that's actually not true because we were just going to get to the Cruiserweight title.
They're their own brand because they have 205 Live.
That's not a show.
I know. Nobody cares.
It's Halloween. It's losing to Halloween Havoc, man.
1995.
Doesn't count. All right, but let's get to it. Cruiserweight title submission match. Austin Aries, Neville. Again, we joke around and say, I don't watch it. I don't watch it. I don't know the story.
Right.
But these two have told a great story.
Right.
And I feel, to talk about the Cruiserweights for a minute, I understand they have their own show. But I feel the giant separation that they perform is doing them a disservice.
It is.
Because it's literally become what used to be the Divas match in these pay-per-views.
Right.
It's the go to the kitchen, get your beer, head to the bathroom line.
Right.
I mean, when you see that purple rope coming out, and I'm not trashing the work, because these guys can work their asses off. What it is they haven't built these characters. The only reason I like this is because, first of all, Neville was established before this, and he came back as a different, better character, in my opinion, with this heel King of the Cruiserweights thing. And I know Austin Aries. I know who he is. I didn't need a backstory. But the rest of the division, the rest of the show, doesn't, like that first match we talked about. Like I said, Rich Swann he looks like the guy who got left out of New Day.
Right.
I don't know who he is. I don't know why he's dancing. Why are you so happy? You keep losing.
Right.
And I barely pronounced Noam Dar correctly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the only reason I know who he is because he's got Alicia Fox next to him.
Right.
That's
exactly.
It.
And
build their characters. It's a TV show.
Back in WCW, the Cruiserweights didn't just wrestle each other.
Right.
They wrestled other people. Billy Kidman.
Well, even the lightweights in WWF back in the 90s.
Yes, they would wrestle other people. And that's what the Cruiserweight division currently is missing, is that Austin Aries isn't wrestling, Chris Jericho on a random time.
Which would be a great match.
Which would be great.
That'd be fantastic.
They're on an island. This purple spaceship just comes down in the middle of
different
Raw.
Mats,
and
different
it
ropes.
turns everything purple, and then all of a sudden it's gone and we're back to Raw. And it's like...
But like I said, and people probably don't even notice it because when they see the tape coming out,
they just go to the bathroom.
Head to the beer line.
Right, and it's so weird because it's arbitrary, right? These guys are in the Cruiserweight division and these guys aren't because Finn Balor qualifies. No matter what they tell you, he is 205 or under.
Oh, he's probably under.
I think he's billed at like 200 or $190. So
205 and a quarter.
Right.
Just to get him out of the division.
Kalisto is another one, and he's on Raw.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are those guys not in the Cruiserweight division, but these guys are and can't get out of it? So it's just...
Because they like being on a show people watch.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, also... Finn Balor's a top guy. So
well, there is that, too.
That's why weight doesn't matter to him, because he's going to show up as a dreadlocked demon, and everybody's going to lose their mind, and he might face Brock Lesnar in a match he won't win.
Now, do you think, though, in this Cruiserweight title match, is this the one that Aries finally goes over?
I think so. Either way...
Because they've been telling, like I said, a great in-ring story, especially Neville kind of doing the sneaky stuff, getting out of it, getting disqualified with the ref. The finger on the that was Owens was the finger.
That was Owens. With the
but still, I mean, they've been telling great in-ring stories,
right?
And it's been going back and forth. This is the rubber match, right?
Yeah. No matter what, this is going to be the end, right? If Neville wins, he's going to move on to a different opponent. If Aries wins, obviously he will be the champion, but this will be the end of the story. I don't see this going any further.
What's your gut tell you?
My gut tells me that Austin Aries is going to win, but it's really a coin flip because keeping it on Neville, it's interesting.
Right.
He's a good champion. He's good for the division from like a wrestling fan standpoint. But if they're losing ratings wars to Halloween Havoc 1995, it might be time to shake things up.
Hey, it was a Monday Night War, pal.
Yeah, right. So I think Austin Aries might be.
The only thing I got against Austin Aries is he ditched the cape. I loved him in a cape.
I know.
I don't know what that frilly jacket is, but I love the cape.
I feel like the cape is like his pay-per-view deal.
Did he wear a cape?
I want to say he wore a cape to the last one, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, we'll find out tonight. All right, the women's title match. Kendo stick on a pole. Call in Vince Russo. Okay. This is happening, people. We got a pole in a ring with a kendo stick on top. And wow, that segment on Raw was crap.
Yep. I want to talk about the Bailey This Is Your Life segment real quick.
Go ahead.
If you had a chance to watch Monday Night Raw and saw the This Is Your Life segment with Bayley and with Alexa Bliss, you would know that might be the worst thing I had ever seen in my entire life. I don't know why WWE insists on doing This Is Your Life segments.
Because they struck gold with The Rock.
Right. So This Is Your Life was a thing that was old when The Rock did it. Right? When The Rock did it...
The original, the Mick Foley?
The original one, right? Okay. Like, that was from, like, a TV show, like, 10 years prior.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So the concept of so-and-so, This Is Your Life...
But in the bubble.
It
was kind of fresh.
Right.
Plus, you also had two people...
Who were very talented.
Killed.
Yeah, they were very talented, very likable, very over. And now you're doing it again and again and again and again.
How many times have you done it?
This is like 5.
Okay, yeah.
And it's insane, especially because... It's not interesting. It's not funny. Why did we get a subplot between Bayley's ex-best friend and Bayley's ex-boyfriend?
I want to see the continuing story of those two weirdos.
I'm telling you, I would love if this was a kayfabe, like, scripted television show spinoff on the network,
right,
where it's just one Bayley Hill, and it's just like, that's what, like, it's just some weird sitcom in, like, San Jose, and it's these two people that found love in the middle of the wrestling ring. Because Bayley's too nice.
20 years later, they didn't rekindle. Right. It took them 20 years. Come on, man.
It took them 20 years to say.
What a weird story.
Yeah. It's very weird.
What a weird story. And again, I feel terrible for Alexa Bliss because she's taking a brunt of the blowback because she basically was hosting the segment.
Yeah, and it's not her fault.
It's absolutely not her fault.
Because
she did the best with what she had to work with.
You could tell halfway through she gave up.
Oh, yeah.
And she's just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to try and push through.
Hitting the script points.
Right. But that being said, I love the story that they're telling. Yeah. The idea of, like, Alexa Bliss is ruthless and brutal.
She's fantastic.
And Bayley just isn't. And she has no shot in this match because Bayley is too nice.
Right.
I think that this is all setting up for Bayley to win.
Oh, absolutely.
Because she is going to be able to get the kendo stick.
I agree 100%.
She's going to be able to use it.
Well, Alexa Bliss is also small.
Right. She's also small.
She's small, so getting that kendo stick would be a feat in itself.
Right.
You know, it's on a pole.
It is on a pole. On the turnbuckle.
On the turnbuckle.
But I think it's going to be fun. I think this is going to be a very fun match. This is going to probably be the match that has the biggest in-ring storytelling psychology aspect. So
it's going to have to.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
What I did find funny, and this is just my own personal thing, what I was noticing, because I kind of mentally tuned out of the This Is Your Life segment moments into it.
Yeah, of course.
Right in the middle of the table was an old picture. Clearly, we were all Bayley's childhood pictures, and Bayley was a big wrestling fan, as we all know, because they've told us many times. Yeah. If you didn't know, she liked wrestling. Right in the middle of the table was a picture of Bayley and a couple wrestlers. I couldn't actually see who it was, but a giant WWF scratch logo. And the cameraman, clearly nobody cleared it, because the cameraman kept going like this to try to avoid it, but it was literally over Alexa Bliss's shoulder. Because the rules are, again, to break down a little bit of legality, they lost it to the Pandas, and then they got the use of it back, but only in historical and archive footage. Yeah. They can't do anything new. That's why it's always the when they do the block, it's missing the F.
Yes.
You know, or when they do the scratch logo, it's missing the F, or it's spray painted over or something like that.
Something weird.
They can't do any new programming with the F scratch logo. And it was there, and you could tell the camera movements were like it was very jerky. And that was just something as a film
TV
geek
guy.
I kind of knew, and I was like, oh, that's very funny. But yeah, I anticipate a great match, and it kind of seems like Bayley's going to win, which is unfortunate because I love Alexa Bliss as the champ, but it also is going to set up the next rematch heading towards Great Balls of Fire. Oh my God.
Awful.
All right, let's get to the Fatal 5-Way, the main event, #1 contenders match for Brock Lesnar's Universal Championship.
So I have
run it down. Who's got it?
I have strong feelings about this. We have Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe.
Smojo.
In a match that they're just going to lose to Brock Lesnar. If you follow me and everybody else over on the New Age Insiders, Brock Lesnar.
You love Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar
You're the biggest
is
Brock
not
fan.
going to wrestle a match that he has a chance of losing until WrestleMania 34. That's just the way it goes.
You don't even think SummerSlam?
I think the only way SummerSlam is on the table is if the fans keep getting behind Braun Strowman. Because
he's got to get healthy.
Right. There's a lot of ifs that go with that.
A lot of variables in that one.
The night after WrestleMania, Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar stood in that ring with the Universal title, and Paul Heyman said, "Hey, Roman Reigns, you beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
You retired The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar is the guy who beat the streak. He broke the streak.
Sure.
So you are the two guys in 22-2, or whatever it is. But he's the two losses to The Undertaker.
Planting that seed.
Let's find out who's the baddest."
Sure.
And of course you're going to tell that story at WrestleMania.
Of course they will. But that's like a year away.
So Brock Lesnar is going to destroy whoever wins this match at Great Balls of Fire. He's not going to wrestle until SummerSlam. He's going to beat somebody important at SummerSlam, not wrestle till the Royal Rumble, beat somebody at the Royal Rumble, and then lose to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania.
They'll probably bring him back for Survivor Series.
Yeah.
That's one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, he might come back for Survivor Series. It's a joint pay-per-view. But that's... So...
And I'm guessing you'd see him once or twice in between there.
Right.
I mean, he's shown up for less. You know what I mean?
That's true.
He's shown up for worse reasons.
That's true. So when it comes to this
five guys, who do you got?
There are three levels of people. There's who I would love.
Okay.
There is who I think, and there is who I would prefer.
Okay. Tell me a story.
The guy who I want is Finn Balor, and I want it to be Finn Balor because Finn Balor never lost his title. So I love the story of Finn Balor coming back, fighting his way back for a rematch, and then slaying this beast.
I love Beast versus Demon. I've said that.
That story
right after WrestleMania
is awesome. That story is great. But again, you have to be okay with Finn Balor beating Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire, and I don't think WWE is
yet. Really?
Yet. I don't.
Even for a return match at SummerSlam, giving it right back to him.
Yeah, I don't think. I just don't think that it's going to happen.
I can't imagine they'd. I see your point of view, but I just can't imagine they're going to keep the title off basically for a year.
Yeah, I think they are.
With little throwaway matches here and there.
I think
just
so.
Look,
that is the one I want the most. The person I think that's going to happen, I think Bray Wyatt's going to win this.
Okay.
I think Bray Wyatt's going to win this because Bray Wyatt can lose big matches and still...
Really?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Bray Wyatt can lose big matches. Bray Wyatt can be thrown into these type of situations. He can get people interested in the story and then lose. So he makes the most sense in terms of...
It's the worst cult.
I know.
Person.
Yeah.
What do we call it? Leader?
Cult leader?
Cult leader
right.
ever.
And then the person that I think would be the best would be Samoa Joe. I would assume that over the next year...
Samoa Joe Brock match would just...
be fun.
That'd be a house burner.
I believe that Brock Lesnar is going to beat Samoa Joe, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt on his way to losing to Roman Reigns. I believe that is what's going to happen. And
so you think along the way?
Along the way. So Samoa Joe to me would be the best first match. Samoa Joe gets the first crack at Brock Lesnar, fails. Then Bray Wyatt gets a crack at Brock Lesnar, fails. Finn Balor gets a crack at SummerSlam, fails. Seth Rollins gets a crack at the Royal Rumble, fails, while Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble.
Is there something in between Great Balls of Fire and SummerSlam?
Survivor Series.
No, that's in November.
Oh, no.
Okay. Gotcha. Go on.
So, I don't know. Raw has 1 million pay-per-views.
It really is.
So, I mean, if he's going to wrestle at Great Balls of Fire, it doesn't necessarily need to be...
Every time you say it, I just giggle.
It could be
the worst name ever.
It could be Battleground.
It could have been Battleground.
I don't know.
Why wasn't it Battleground?
Why isn't this like...
Could have been, what is it, Roadblock, End of the Line
I don't know
2.
when. I don't know when. I think we just had Memorial Day, so it's officially summer. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
But we could have done Spring Stampede, right? Wasn't that an old WCW pay-per-view? We could have done that. I don't know.
Hog Wild.
Hog Wild outside of Sturgis.
Right? We could go back to Panama Beach, give all the tickets away for free, not make any money. Wow, that was a great business move.
Yeah,
anyway.
WCW was really smart.
WCW
I wonder how that
terrible.
company's doing now.
Well, apparently it's doing better in the ratings than 205 Live.
That's so true.
So you're going with Samoa Joe on this.
I'm going with Bray Wyatt. I think Bray Wyatt
you think
is
Bray's
actually
going to win this?
But I would prefer Samoa Joe to win.
Gotcha.
Of those two.
So you're thinking Bray Wyatt, Brock Lesnar, Great Balls of Fire.
Yes.
I just want to keep
Great
hammering home
Balls
that
of Fire.
the next show is Great Balls of Fire.
Great Balls of Fire. Goodness gracious. Great Balls of Fire.
All right. I'm kind of with you on that. I'd love, because I think Finn Balor at SummerSlam against Brock would be great. Somehow we get to that point.
Roman Reigns should just win this, face Brock Lesnar, and get it over with.
Yeah, but you got to make money, pal.
I know. This entire show is built around Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is the main character of this TV show. Mm-hmm. That is who Roman Reigns is. Yeah. So we just need to accept it. I just hate that I have to accept it for a year. Right? Because I can do Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. I can get excited for that match.
Right.
I just don't like the fact that he is the champion. The champion is not on TV. I am over Brock Lesnar. I am just over Brock Lesnar.
See, the problem is Brock Lesnar's over, though.
I know. That's the problem. Therein lies my conundrum.
So overall, what do you think match of the night's going to be?
I think the match of the night is going to be the Fatal 5-Way.
Really?
Yeah, it's going to be a bunch of nonsense.
I'm going with the Cruiserweight match. The match I have the littlest interest in outside of the two competitors as far as storytelling, as storytelling, as you say all the time.
Yep, storytelling.
I think they've been telling a great in-ring story, and their matches have, like, it's one of those things. Like I said, the first time they met at WrestleMania, I was like, okay, whatever, cool, but it grabbed me.
Right.
The in-ring psychology, not the works, not the flips, not the dives. The psychology in the ring grabbed me, and I think they've been telling a great in-ring story. Yeah. Outside the ring on 205 Live, I don't know what the hell they're doing.
See, I think that the Fatal 5-Way...
Crashing 205 Live.
The Fatal 5-Way will be the best match of the night, just because we're going to get the Finn Balor demon entrance, I would assume. It's a pay-per-view. So I assume that's what we're going to get, right? First time since SummerSlam last year.
Yep.
Seth Rollins is going to jump off of something big.
Of course.
Bray Wyatt's going to crash into something. Samoa Joe's going to crash into something.
Are we going to get projected inchworms or something?
I hope not.
Are we going to get some After Effects happening in there?
I hope not. I hope there's not some weird green screen effect. But some green screen effect. And then I would love, and I have no idea whether or not it's actually possible where he is health-wise, but I would love Braun Strowman to come back tonight and just destroy everybody. Or at least Roman Reigns.
At least Roman Reigns. That's what I was thinking.
At least Roman Reigns.
Because you are just waiting for the "I'm not done yet" t-shirt.
I'm not finished with you.
I'm not finished with you.
I'm not finished with you is my favorite catchphrase ever. And somebody tweeted me a picture.
Haunts my dreams.
It's the Uncle Sam. It's the Uncle Sam with the finger pointing, but it's Braun Strowman, and it just is him pointing and just says, "I'm not finished with you." And I love it.
That's great.
It's a precursor to death because off screen you just hear, "I'm not finished with you yet," and then Braun Strowman, that giant mountain of a man, just comes running in
and breaks something.
Oh God, I love Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman is rapidly rising the chart of my favorite pro wrestler.
So overall, we're looking forward to the show.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
All right, let's get to the Rasslin Rant here.
Ooh, fun.
Last show.
2 weeks ago.
We kind of beat up the social media a little bit. Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. No.
This time, this one's going to be a little bit near and dear. It's going to be a little sore subject for you.
Yeah.
Are there too many wrestling podcasts?
Look, as a man who hosts
8
wrestling podcasts.
8.
No, in all seriousness, I host the New Age Insiders on newageInsiders.com. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Glork Norble. Yeah, it's great.
It's coming up.
It's up and coming. We also have the New Age Insiders Network, which has a bunch of shows on it. We have a bunch of shows on it, and so we have a collection of a bunch of different podcasts.
Yes.
We understand that podcasts are very prevalent in the pro wrestling world.
What a shock that wrestling fans would oversaturate the market with something.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And there are a lot of good shows, and there are way more bad shows.
And this wasn't two things. First of all, it wasn't just to shill your podcast,
right.
Although it is a great
New Age
podcast.
Insiders,
you should listen.
We have a pre-show and a post-show.
Yeah, they do. So he's going to be doing this all
NewAgeInsiders.com.
day. But it also, I wasn't referring to wrestling fan podcasts.
Right.
Because there are great ones. And the funny thing is, most of the ones I listen to are from the UK. There's the Attitude Era podcast, I think is very funny. The OSW Review. We mentioned WhatCulture.com.
Yeah.
I think those guys do a fantastic job. Much like us, they don't take themselves serious.
Right.
It's a fun, lighthearted, silly type of banter around the ring, if you will.
Right.
What I was referring to is current or past pro wrestlers with podcasts, or even just personalities. They didn't have to work in the ring. And There's so many of them.
Right. And
there's more just coming every single day.
Yeah.
And what prompted this was I listened to probably one of my favorite podcasts I'm currently listening to is Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard.
Yep.
Bruce tells fantastic stories. Now, if you look online and if you listen to hashtag Meltzer Says, you might think that some of his stories are fabricated or exaggerated. But to be honest, like I said, I don't really care. They're great stories.
Right.
Truth, fiction, tell me a good story.
At the end of the day, you want to be entertained.
Make me laugh during my commute. That's all I really care about. And Bruce does a great job. The stories he carves, and because he was Vince's right-hand man for so many years, from the early 80s through, I think 2008 was his last run in WWE, tells great stories. And the guy he has co-hosting with him, Conrad Thompson, I'm going to throw it out on Twitter. Hey, it's Conrad. That's a great co-host to have with him because his research is impeccable. Like he does like you just listen to him do research without the follow-up, which I'm getting to.
Right.
Because he also does a podcast, Conrad that is, called What Happened When with Tony Schiavone, which is a WCW side. Right. And I had just listened to Bruce Pritchard's side of the last Monday Nitro. Because he was there with Shane, he was in Panama, so he went and he told his side of the story.
Right.
Well, Conrad said, well, I also do this one with Tony Schiavone. And I'm like, well, that's a great companion piece. It'd be the WCW side of the last Monday Nitro. Love to hear it. Again, Conrad did a great job of doing all the research, prepping, asking the right questions, and literally every single question he asked, I listened for about 45 minutes till I shut it off. Tony Schiavone would just be like, I don't know, people really didn't talk to me about it. There was just non-answers.
Yeah.
It was like 45 minutes of non-answers. And I'm like, why am I just couldn't take it. So I start flipping around to flipping like I'm on TV, flipping around to different podcasts. And I picked up Eric Bischoff's. He does a wrestling one.
Yeah.
Listened to it for a little bit. Eric's isn't bad, but he does more current day. I'd wish he'd talk more about WCW stuff because it's more interesting to tell stories as opposed to just because everybody reviews. I mean, Jesus, we're doing it. We review current product. You know what I mean? We just spent a half an hour doing it. You know what I mean? But there's so many. And the problem is there's only so many hours in a day that you can sit and listen. And if you're picking up a bad podcast, you're gonna have a bad day.
Yeah, it's so true.
But there are great ones that I feel people should be listening to.
Yeah,
and that's more what this is about. It's not to trash the people who do bad podcasts. It's more to tell people what they should be listening to if you want that type of fun wrestling content.
Right, because I feel like the podcast, at least for the established wrestling personalities, this is the new convention, right?
It's a new way to make extra money also.
Right. You have a lot of guys that spent their entire life wrestling. There's not much of a,
unless you're The Rock.
Right. There's not much of a pension plan where it comes, so you come and you do these type of things and you make appearances, and that's how you do it. So I think telling the stories of the road is something people are interested in. Mm-hmm. You know, Pritchard is a very good person,
great storyteller
to point to about this could work. Taz's show is fantastic.
And Taz, I was going to bring him up because I don't really consider Taz a podcast.
No.
I consider Taz more, because he does it every day. He does 5 days a week, 2 hour. I consider it more of a radio show.
He's a radio show. And so that's, because you're absolutely right. And he does it inside a radio show. I think he has.
And it's on CBS.
It's on CBS Radio.
And it's formatted as such like a radio show. There's breaks and there's bits and he comes in and out. It's not just like long form, tell me a story.
Right.
But that being said, it's great content. And he breaks down everything.
Yeah. Chris Jericho.
It was a great show.
His is great. Stone Cold Steve Austin's.
Love it.
Is great.
But I love Steve's for a couple reasons. First of all, if you haven't listened to Jericho's interview with Roman Reigns, go listen to it. It rivals some of the interviews I did with Roman Reigns. Ha! But it was great.
Where can we find the interview with Roman Reigns?
Well, it's on. You can go to MikeWendt.com and find it there. It was the old Mike and Billy show, and the Mike and Billy show. Not to go down that rabbit hole, but I never felt we were a wrestling podcast. We talked to wrestlers because we were interested in wrestling, but we kind of formatted our show a lot more like Taz does. It's more of because we come from radio,
an entertainment radio show.
It was pop culture. It was day in the life type stuff. That's why I didn't include us in the litany of great podcasts for wrestling.
Right. Yeah.
Great podcast, but not wrestling. But no, in all seriousness, Chris Jericho did a great interview with Roman Reigns. You find out a lot about his personality and who he is as a person. But Steve Austin, wow. I listen to Steve for one of two reasons. Either he's got somebody he's interviewing that I really like, or he's breaking down one of his old matches. I love that.
Okay.
It's kind of like him doing commentary over his own match, telling you what he was thinking, what the other guy was thinking, that type of love that. However, no matter what you're going into Steve's thing for, you got to spend 45 minutes listening to him do construction, move his bed around. I just got a house, and I got my couch into 16 Gimmick Street and Mule the Wonder Dog, and it's just like he's farming. It's a mess. But listen, as somebody who comes from radio, listen to Steve Austin do live reads makes my day.
Yeah.
Makes my onit.com. Makes my day. So he does a great one. The one that's a sleeper, I bet a lot of people don't know about.
The New Age Insiders podcast.
No. Because everybody knows about that.
Of course.
Lance Storm
yes.
and Cyrus, Don Callis from ECW, do a great podcast.
Yeah.
And they break down old ECW shows while blending with some of the current product. They talk to people. Cyrus has this great rivalry with Disco Inferno. It is just so random but excellent. And they're like, it's very dry humor because it's Lance Storm. But it's really well done. You can listen to it. It's smooth. It's easy. It's entertaining.
Right.
And they actually tell stories with information. Another one I like that just started, Edge and Christian.
Okay.
ENC's podcast of awesomeness.
See, that feels like that was a long time coming.
It really does. And I was a huge fan of the network show.
Right.
I believe it's coming back for a second season.
It is.
Huge fan of it. I think the two of them are just genuinely funny people. And listening to their podcast, they are genuinely funny people.
They were great on Table for Three. Mm-hmm. And they did it with Angle, and it was fantastic.
Team Eck.
Yeah, Team Eck.
Team Eck. Then there's some that just like, Goldberg had one for a while.
Yeah.
Where all he wanted to do was talk about NASCAR.
Yeah, cars.
Awesome. That's what people listen for.
Friend of the New Age Insiders, Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, well, get him to talk about wrestling. Maybe more people will listen. Bret Hart did one but stopped because all he would do was be Bret Hart, and he'd just be like this curmudgeon that was bitching about everything.
Yeah, I don't like Bret Hart.
And I remember when he actually stopped doing it, he was like, I didn't want to be just the angry old man.
Yeah.
Ric Flair does one. Again, he does it with Conrad Thompson, who does the Bruce Pritchard one. And Rick is out there.
Yeah.
Listen to Rick tell stories. You know what I'd love to do? I'd love to get Ric Flair and Michael PSAs together for a podcast. I think that would just be insanity. Fellas? Sober, too.
Fellas, you want to
book it? Come on this show, by the way.
Come on this show. We'll do it.
And trust me, I understand the hypocrisy of saying there's too many wrestling podcasts while we're here
on Facebook
Live. I get it. It's wrestling. There's a lot of hypocrisies involved. But if you were to throw out a go-to, what would you say? Because I'm sure you listen to Disco Infernos.
Of course.
I'm sure you listen to Ravens.
Of course.
I'm sure Rob Van Dam does one as well. I mean, everybody does one.
Yeah, everybody has one. Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
That was what I texted you the other night.
Yeah, when
Hacksaw Duggan, and who's with them? Mooney. Sean Mooney and Hacksaw Duggan. I will not listen to that.
No, that'd be terrible.
Mooney probably could tell some good stories, but mixed with Duggan, I don't know, man.
Right. Yeah. So there's a couple of podcasts. I mean, obviously, I really like the Pritchard podcast. I've listened to it a couple of times. I don't listen to it as much as I should.
Sure.
I have a ton of respect for those guys. I think that it's a great show. Mm-hmm. I also really like Taz. I think Taz's show is great. In terms of just general podcasts, and I don't mean to shill my own stuff, but there are a couple of shows on my network that are really good. It's the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing, WPAN, and they're fantastic. Mm-hmm. There's
who hosts that?
It's a pro wrestler Brian Malonis, and then Mike Crockett.
Oh, Kingpin Brian Malonis.
Kingpin Brian Malonis. Yeah. He was just in the Ring of Honor Top Prospect tournament.
Yes, he was.
He wrestles all around New England. He's great. And then Mike Crockett is a former referee, so their insight into the business is fantastic. The other show would be the Rant with Ant.
Okay.
He has a very fun format, doesn't take it too seriously, and his show is awesome. And then obviously my show. Of course. Because if you're not listening to the New Age Insiders,
all right. I will say, though, you also, not to keep shilling the New Age Insiders, but you do Late Night Liam.
I do. That's a late night talk show.
And that's more, see, that's a great way for me to describe, that's more along the lines of what Billy and I used to do on the Mike and Billy show, where it's more free form, whatever we're thinking, whatever's happening in our lives, plus you mix in wrestling because we're into it.
Right, because like a couple weeks ago we had Phil Moore of Nick Arcade.
Okay, Nickelodeon show.
Yeah, Nickelodeon show.
Yeah.
We had him on and we talked to him for a while. So,
very cool.
We don't talk wrestling on that show because we don't
As much. I've been a guest on that show.
Yeah, of course you were.
That was one of my 2-year appearances in the New Age Insider studio.
Yeah, the contract.
Yeah, exactly. The contracted time. So I guess the bottom line is, are there too many wrestling podcasts?
Yeah, the answer is yes, because there's something very serious that's kind of happened on YouTube, and it's responsible because of this wrestling podcast and everything. YouTube has changed their format as to what can be sponsored content, and wrestling is no longer deemed sponsor worthy. And the reason is because while there are all of the shows that we just mentioned, all of them are great shows, and if you like this type of content, you should listen to all of them because they're worth listening to. But for every one of those shows that I mentioned, there's 1,000 shows that are not professional in any way, shape, or form. And that gets very dangerous because with someone like Roman Reigns, who is a very polarizing figure, you tend to get what has been termed as like hate speech towards him. You know, a lot of swearing, a lot of racial slurs, a lot of, stuff.
Good times all around.
And so because of that, YouTube has now deemed this type of content not sponsor worthy, which is really unfair to the people that are trying to take it seriously.
So we're putting it back out there on the fans. It's your fault.
Yes.
This is your fault. Well done.
But yeah, support the shows that are good because if you support the shows that are good, like this one, you support good shows, then it makes everybody more money, and that's ultimately what we all want.
Looking forward to the next show, I believe, June 18th? What's that, 2 weeks away?
Yep.
Yeah, about that. Money in the Bank. Personally, I don't know, outside of the women's match, I don't know anything else on the card, but outside of the women's match, I don't care because that is going to be awesome.
Yeah, the women's Money in the Bank match.
It's historic. They got the right people doing it.
Yes.
Charlotte's going to flip off a ladder.
Or something.
It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, James Ellsworth might win the briefcase.
I forgot he's still around.
He is.
That's a hashtag poor Carmella.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man, that poor woman.
I know. But then the regular men's Money in the Bank is going to be great as well. And then we'll get Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton round 2.
Dive.
Well,
Liam, thanks for joining me. Thanks for coming in. Of course, we're always here. See you on Money in the Bank. Thank you for coming in. Bye-bye.
Bye.